This is called graphic recording. I use huge sheets of paper on the wall, and I use big markers, and I listen to the group's conversation, and I record it using words and images. I also use visual note-taking to take my own personal notes when I'm listening to speeches or lectures or meetings, what have you. What do you think is the most common objection I get when I start to teach people how to do visual note-taking? Any ideas? Here, I'll show you. Okay, say it with me. But I can't draw. I get that all the time. Good news is it's not about drawing. It's not about making beautiful pictures. It's not about making detailed images. It's not about accurately drawing a person or a car or a light bulb. It's not even about doing something that's recognizable to anybody other than yourself. The thing that you need to do with visual note-taking is capture what you're hearing in a way that's memorable for you. It's a personal experience, and it needs to be personally relevant and connect with what you heard, and that's all. Any type of note-taking is designed to help the student take what they're hearing and hook it to their internal frame of reference. That's how learning occurs. You take new information and hook it to old information that you already had. When you've done visual notes, the way that you tell if you did it right is if you can look at your notes and tell back the story that you heard from that speaker, then you did it right. That's all there is to it. It's no more than that. Can you look at it and recall the story? After you've had some practice, it's really meditative doing visual note-taking. It's kind of like a conversation between you and the speaker that takes place in your notebook, and you can recall that conversation later.
Are you ready? So if you can draw a line, we're well off. And then you continue with a circle, a square. If it's going too fast, I'll continue. A triangle and a wave, something like that. See, that's pretty simple. That's drawing. Now, a little bit tricky is the 5-pointed stars, but you start in the beginning and you make 5-pointed star sort of like this. Remember, it doesn't need to be pretty. It just needs to be symbolized. Are you good with this? So we'll draw to the next page. Now you combine some of this. You make a small circle, and then you make a 4-pointed star. So you just add 4, and then you have a person. It's a world-famous star figure. Now, the second thing is, if you draw a square and two lines down and a little bit of blurb in the bottom, then you have a signpost. You don't need to draw a house to show where things are going on. You just need to write it in a post, and then you can write TEDx. Now, another square starts like this, but then you add a line and a line, and then you make a perfect arrow. The good thing about arrows is you can write inside them, but this is an easy way to make an arrow. Then you can show process, how things happen. Now, then you make a circle, and a little tip down, and then continue the circle. Then you have a speech bubble, and now you are able to put story into whatever you draw. What are people thinking or saying? A little bit tricky one comes now. Are you ready? So you make a couple of M's, or a blurb like this and a blurb like this. And then you make a circle in a little bit different way, but sort of like that. And a line in the bottom, and then 2 lines here. And you do a line up, and then a lot of stuff like this, and then down. Then you make a very sustainable light bulb. Now here's an element that maybe provides a little bit content that's relevant for today. You don't need to do the next, but I think we can see that putting these things together can make a drawing about some people wanting to move somewhere, overcoming an obstacle by getting a great idea. And this drawing could actually help maybe 100 teams or 1,000 teams have a dialogue of where are we, where do we want to go, and how do we overcome the obstacles. So the drawing helps having a conversation, and you can spread that dialogue.
It helps to have your objective in your mind before you get started. So this is the person that we're going to draw. This is affectionately known as a star person because in its simplest form, it looks like a star. But I've done years and years of research, and I find that people rarely stand like this. So we're going to give our person a little more natural posture. You ready to go? Everybody have something to draw with? Okay, I'm going to be zooming in and out while I do this, so you'll see things get bigger and smaller. A star person just starts with an oval for the head. Please draw an oval for the head. Then the next thing is, from the bottom of the oval, a line that curves up and out, and that's the top edge of the upraised arm. Doing the hand is very simple. It's a line straight down and 2 little bumps, and there's your hand. And now we're going to complete the arm with a curved line that comes back down, and notice that this line stops almost underneath where the other line started. You don't want to go back under the head, or your person will have too narrow a body later. That's a pro tip. The other arm is a little boomerang that goes out and comes back down. And after that, we just draw 2 straight lines for the legs. And these taper together a little bit at the bottom, but they don't touch. Then down at the bottom, we're going to add the feet, which is just 2 little curves, almost like a W. And we're almost done. We just need to add a few details, and we're finished. So the first thing is a little triangle in this area, and that's the negative space inside the arm. The next thing is we're going to give the person a little personality with 2 little lines for the eyes. And finally, 1 straight line for the leg, and that'll divide the 2 legs. And there you have your star person. So it's entirely possible that you all walked in here convinced that you couldn't draw, and now you've just drawn a person. There's a first image for your mental library. If you practice this guy, he'll be ready to drop in your notes whenever you need it. And he's very versatile. For example, you can make him face a totally different direction. If you just draw the eyes a little differently, I'm going to draw them close together on one side of his head and watch what happens. He's looking to the side now. Very versatile. So he's ready to pop into your notes where he can hail a taxi, he can make an announcement, he can raise an objection, and he can rally a group of people, all with this one little drawing. This slide is visual notes that I made of a talk on key competencies for participating in virtual meetings, especially where you want to do visual note-taking. So things that you have to know to be in that kind of meeting, to run that kind of meeting. And one of the points that the speaker made was that you have to have patience. So you can see the patience up there. I have a little patient person, right? So this is just my standard person modified to be like this with a little halo to indicate how patient they are. And next to them is a computer that I draw all the time. But I've added lines coming out of that computer, right? Unhappy, the computer's unhappy, there are these lines coming out. And what that one image reminds me of is that the speaker was talking about being patient with technical difficulties, not being patient with people who are difficult in your meeting or something else. So just those lines remind me of that detail without my having to write it all out.
First things first. In any drawing, start with people. Show who's involved. We like to identify ourselves in any picture. Draw a star. Not just any star. This one. With this shape you can create persons in many variations, like this. With just a few strokes you can create impressive icons which people will remember. Element 2. Place and time. Context matters. We like orienting ourselves in space and time. Avoid details. Just make a square and 2 lines down for a signpost, or labels. You can also indicate a place just by adding a platform. A flat horizon line will indicate inside, a curved outside. Element 3. Process. You often want to show what happens or how something unfolds. To do this, simply use arrows. Simple ones can do, but different arrows create different meaning. Element 4. Speech. Now you can show people in process from A to B. You can add depth and life by showing what people are saying, thinking and feeling. Here are simple speech and thought bubbles which will do the job. Element 5. Text. Writing adds vital information to your drawings, but remember, less is more. Use as few but as precise words as possible. Write clearly and use size, style, shape and colour to indicate meaning and value. Use bullets in different shapes. They help separate information and make lists easier to read. Element 6. Colour. Colours help us navigate the information we see. Use colour to make things stand out, show relations and add energy. Dark colours are great for text. Bright colours are great to highlight with. Colours can add meaning to a simple illustration and add depth to a story. Element 7. Effects. With just a few lines you can add energy, attention to certain important parts, movement to objects, emotions and moods to people, and depth and contrast to content. Now you're ready to make the 7 elements work together. First, you start by drawing the people involved. Second, you place them somewhere with platforms and signs. Thirdly, you show the process. Then you add speech bubbles and text, showing what people are thinking and or saying. Finally, add colour and effects to give depth and life to the poster. With these 7 building blocks, you can build stories. Here you have a story of a person getting training, overcoming obstacles and reaching a goal. Using just 7 elements, you're now able to turn a white canvas into a powerful presentation tool or an engaging dialogue tool. Here is what we have come to believe are 3 easy steps and 3 simple tips for you to create your own visual language. Step number 1 is to list keywords you need to be able to visualize. They communicate the essence of your work, knowledge and expertise. The second step is to organize your listed words in these 5 categories: things, people, places, processes and concepts. To find out how to draw each word, the following tips can help you. Tip number 1. Our brain is quick when it comes to processing visual information, so when drawing, you just need to use very basic symbols like these. Our brain distills what we see in the real world into very basic and recognizable symbols. Simple icons put together are easy to understand by others. Tip number 2. The easiest words to draw are what is visible to the eye. Therefore it helps to, so to speak, think like a camera. If you could take a picture of the meaning of the word, what artifacts would be in the picture? Who is involved? How? Look for and use brain symbols to draw it. Now you're ready for the 3rd step, drawing your categorized words. Things are often the easiest to draw. They're easy to take a photo of and distill into basic symbols. A book. Imagine taking a photo of a book. Then draw the main lines. Light bulb. Seed. When drawing people, you often only need to add an extra object to a person or group to give meaning. The student needs a bag. The development team, an arrow. Mankind could be people standing on a globe. Illustrating place can also be done, adding just a little extra. Classroom, desks and blackboard. Remember camera thinking and brain symbols. Company, this could be a building. Earth, the globe. Processes is about someone doing something, somewhere. This means finding creative ways of combining people, things and arrows. Learning, a stairway, an arrow and a person. Brainstorm, a group of people and a light bulb. Upcycling, a plastic bottle turned into a jacket. Concepts are usually the most abstract and hardest to draw. To find words fitting various concepts demands a great deal of creative thinking. Learning styles, innovation, sustainability. Concepts can be depicted by combining things, people, places and processes. The final tip is, you define. Images are often ambiguous. They can be interpreted in many different ways. A very important aspect of creating a visual language is therefore to understand that you define the meaning of the visuals. The value of a visual language increases when done in a collective process, for example with your team, where you build a shared understanding which everyone benefits from. You're now ready to create and expand your own visual language. The next step is to practice and share it with others, and then start combining icons into larger contexts of meaning, bringing value not only to your team, but also to your organization and other stakeholders.
When taking visual notes, the critical thing is that your images are very quick and easy to draw, and that they're relevant to the content that's being said. If you find yourself doing a really detailed image, and it has nothing to do with what the speaker's currently saying, and this happens to every visual note taker at some point, then you've lost track of what's going on. You've fallen behind. And what you need to do is stop, leave a space, move on, and keep up with the speaker. When I was taking the notes here, the speaker that I was listening to, Chris Shun, was talking about the difference between low success teams and high success teams. And you can see that in the lower portion of the slide here. And I had this image of how I wanted to represent his description of what those two teams were like. But I didn't have time while he was talking to work it out because I hadn't had those postures of the people that you see here. That wasn't in my library, in my image library already. So I left a space and I went on with him, which is good because if I tried to work out that drawing right then, I would have ended up missing the take-home points. It's really not about the drawing. It's about listening and capturing. Listening and capturing. If you're working on that detailed drawing and the speaker's talking about something else, I can guarantee that you're not listening to the speaker anymore. You might be listening to your inner critic who's saying, that drawing's not right, keep working on it, it's not right, it's not right. Or you might be listening to that voice in your head that says, that's not what a zebra looks like. But you're not listening to the speaker. And what you need to be doing is listening to the speaker.